You've got two projects going on that we're talking about right now. One is Long Legs and one is Three Women. And having watched both of them recently, there's not a ton in common. However,
but they're both freaky in different ways.
This is what I'm saying.
That's what's in common.
Right. So like what I'm curious about from your perspective when you get something like these projects, what is it that like attracts you?
Part of what attracts me is the diversity of thought, the diversity of execution and genres. So yeah, I mean, Long Legs, of course, is a classic horror film, and really classic, even in like a 70s stylish filmmaking way. And then Three Women is a very different romantic, personal journey of women kind of overcoming obstacles and trying different directions in their lives and the challenge of that. So it's very different, but that is what appeals me and attracts me to. It's the differences of projects. I'm excited about Long Legs right now because it's my first horror film. It's something new to me, and if you've been following my career, hopefully, it's something different to watch, to look for. Only the first 10 years of my career, I played, I call it the noble Negro, the good guy. That character in Just Cause, playing a serial killing pedophile, really set the tone for the next 10, 15, 20 years of my career, to play a lot of bad guys, but also a lot of those bad guys are someone you think is good, but there's always something churning underneath. To Sir with Love, Sidney Poitier. He was the actor I watched as a kid, and I said, I hope to have that kind of presence on screen. I tongue-in-cheek said the noble Negro, but he spent so much of his career being that respected man of color on the screen when it was very rare to have a black man on screen. In fact, I had a great conversation with him before Just Cause. Right before Just Cause, that transition from playing such upstanding, good characters, noble characters, for 7 years in LA Law and everything in between when I do movies and things, always the good guy. The transition to go from that to this serial killing pedophile in Just Cause, I was concerned about. And I talked to him about it. I told him that in the film, you have two representations of men of color. You have Lawrence Fishburne, who's like the asshole cop you believe to be, who's just giving me a hard time, my character, Bobby Earl. And then you have my character. And he said, the fact that there's two different representations, I think you're safe, because it's all about variety and diversity of representation. Right. And he said, to play that kind of character, he said, I didn't have that luxury. And he said, I went through that, so you wouldn't have to. So you play that role and you play it well. He said, just do the work. That's the best thing I can say, especially now when, you can get a TV show if you got enough followers, it does have a lot to do with talent, but he said, just do the work. And that helped me so much because that trip, as I said, I was doing press. I was stepping in the second season of this show that was already a hit. I had so many people saying, you should have your publicist make sure you're on the cover of this magazine, that magazine. It was just too much. I was like, I just want to act. I just want to do the work. And he told me a story when he was doing the Defiant ones. And Tony Curtis was a huge star at the time. Sidney Poitier was coming up, he had a big hit, one or two hits. But Tony Curtis was above the title. It's all about him as a black man and Tony Curtis being handcuffed and jumping off a train, and they're convicts. But they're handcuffed together, but it's about their friendship. And Tony Curtis went to the producers and said, he needs to be above the title with me. And in Hollywood, your name above the title means you have more value than the project. People are coming to see you. And he said, it's only because I just focused on the work. So I never forgot that. And he told me that then, and that's always the focus. And I love talking to you, I really do, and promoting a project. That's the icing on the cake, but you gotta bake the cake first. And the cake is the work, and not get caught up with everything else around you. And I just found that throughout my career. It's somewhat reinventing yourself or doing something different, a different genre, a different style, and something very unexpected. I think that is the secret sauce to most great careers.